Hi.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce Basha, whom I think many of you already know. Basha and Reb Judith were our Ner Shalom Educators of the Year this year for their amazing series of conversations on Buddhism and Judaism. But Basha is also someone who thinks deeply and has much to share with us. She's been a student of Buddhism for over 25 years and of Judaism all her life. She's one of the few lucky students of Ani Pima Chodron, and through her of the Shambhala lineage, was first taught by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. Hopefully I didn't mangle that too badly. She teaches meditation in the North Bay at various venues and owns and runs a retreat space in West Sonoma County called Open Sky Retreat Space. Her favorite thing is to bring together the two wisdom traditions and to explore how her Buddhist training can inform her Jewish faith. And tonight she's taken a different tack. And I look forward to hearing what you have to say, Basha. And I send you strength and inspiration. I know this has been a challenging few days for you.
Well, yes, that's right. I haven't been up this late for quite a while because I had COVID, so I've been very, very sleepy and tired a lot. But thank you. So, is it now time to begin? Okay. So, good evening, everybody, and thank you for staying up and for coming to this. I so appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts about Torah and about Judaism and to link them to my Buddhist training. It's very rich for me. It really is very rich. And so when I was asked to do something, what came to me somehow was the words Lech Lecha, which means go forth. And it were the words that were told to Abraham in the very beginning of the history of our people. And for me, Lech Lecha means leave what you know, go into the unknown, and find your true purpose, find your truth. And so I'm going to take you through a few stories that are probably very familiar with you and just link this theme. And Gesher even mentioned it, the hero's journey. So to start out, I'm going to share with you a song that was written by Debbie Friedman, and it is the song based on the words Lech Lecha. And I think Sherry will share that with you. Yes. I don't think we can hear it just right yet. It's technical things.
Sherry, make sure you are unmuted.
And hopefully the sound of Debbie singing will transport you into the mood of the Jewish people setting out.
Okay, let's try this again.
Thank you.
Can you hear it?
No. Okay.
Let me try one more thing.
All right.
Because it's a beautiful song and it would be lovely to be able to hear it.
You have to click the share audio.
Right. You know what? Let me see if I can just share the audio. We may not get the words.
That's okay.
Lechi lach shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. Lechi lach. And I shall make your name great. Lech lecha. And all shall praise your name. Lechi lach. To the place that I will show you. L'simchat chayim. L'simchat chayim. L'simchat chayim. Lechi lach. Lechi lach.
Whoop. Okay. Thank you, Sherry. Wasn't exactly a fade out, but that's okay. So, the history of the Jewish people begins, well, it's a story, as we heard, it's a story, it's a family story. It's a story of jealousy, betrayal, trickery, struggle, but always there's a promise, the promise that it will be all right, that you will survive. And not only will you survive, you will thrive. And this song, Lechi lach, is saying that. It is the promise given to Abraham. It's the beginning of our people. Abraham, as you all probably know, lived in his father's house, surrounded by idols, and he thought there's got to be more to life than this. And he was safe, he was comfortable, but he sought something else, and he went forth, and God told him, go forth. And that was the beginning of our people, because he didn't just leave the familiar and the unknown to find out who he really was. This is how the Jewish people began. When he struck out, he became our first forefather, and Sarah our first foremother. And the beginning of our history as a Jewish people begins right there. Like many origin stories, the hero has to leave his house to discover himself. And in this case, he has to leave his home to begin a new religion, monotheism, Judaism, our religion. So our roots begin here, leaving the familiar, overcoming our fear of the unknown, and having faith that we will discover who we really are. So I think this is a key teaching for us for all times, our history and also ourselves right now. Go forth to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha. Throughout Torah, we have had these stories of heroes' journeys, leaving the known and facing their fears and finding their true purpose. After Abraham, there was Jacob. He had to leave his home to find a wife and to start the tribes, the 12 tribes. He had to, as we know, he had to find a suitable wife and married Leah and then Rachel and had 12 sons. The story of Jacob we'll come back to. Next we have Joseph. He didn't run away, but his brothers took him away, and he was thrown into a pit and brought into Egypt. And by being brought into Egypt, he eventually became a very powerful force, a minister, and he reshaped not only his destiny, but the destiny of his whole tribe, all the brothers who became the tribes of Israel. And then we have Moses, who had to flee Egypt because he had killed a man, an Egyptian soldier, who was beating a Jewish slave. And Moses, when I studied this, I really didn't know this. I thought he went to the desert and saw the burning bush and came back. But no, he lived for 40 years. He got married, had children, was a shepherd. So he spent a long time in the wilderness. not knowing who he was until he encountered the burning bush and his purpose, his true purpose, was revealed to him. And then finally, in this line of things, is the Jewish people themselves, who had to leave Egypt, wander for 40 years in the desert, so that a new generation could be born to receive the tablets at Sinai. They had to wander for 40 years. So that's a whole generation of wandering to find a new way of life and to discover the Jewish way of life. So, Lech Lecha, go forth to a land that I will show you, keeps being repeated throughout the Torah. So I want to turn the spotlight back to Jacob. He too has to leave his home. He's stolen his birthright, as we spoke of earlier tonight, from his brother Esau. And he finds himself in the desert, and the sun is setting, and he finds a rock. I love this image. He finds a rock in the desert, and he puts it under his head and as a pillow. So he's really out there by himself. And he has a dream. In his dream, he sees a ladder with angels ascending and descending into heaven. And it's very significant, as much has been written about, that the fact is that the angels ascend into heaven and then descend. So it starts on earth. The connection to the divine starts on earth and then goes up and then goes down. And this seems to me to be pointing to the connection between the earthly and the divine and his awakening. Because before that, he was concerned about his worldly goods, what he stole from Esau, that he's got his flock of sheep and whatever, and that he's on a mission to make, babies and have a tribe of people. But all of a sudden, that earthly concern changes when he sees this ladder in his dream. And then he wakes up and he says the words that I find so important. So he's having this dream and he wakes up and he says, God was in this place and I did not know it. After having seen the angels ascending and descending, connecting earth to heaven, this is what he says. And I feel this is a key essence of the spiritual path, to go forth from what we don't know, from what we know, into what we don't know, to face our fears of the unknown, and then by some miracle, to see the divine in the present moment. God was in this place, and I did not know it. The repetition of the word I is both poetic and revealing, because between that first I and the second I, something has happened, something humbling. I did not know it. The whole world, I think, is traversed between that first I and the second. The first I is our concept of ourself, our drama, our life story. But the second I is also oneself, but it's the one ready to see something bigger than oneself. The second I knows that it does not know. And it is in the not knowing that we discover the truth. Throughout the Torah, our leaders had to leave what was familiar and face their fears and find out who they were. The I who thought I knew who I was becomes the I who does not know and is open to receive. It's in this place of not knowing that revelation happens. It is in this place where all that is familiar and that has been taken away, when we are tender, open, vulnerable, and we can see. So that's my Torah while standing on one foot. Each of us are on a journey like this. Each of us go from moment to moment, not knowing what the moment has in store for us. I don't know if you think that's true, but let's pause for a moment. I invite you all to pause for a moment Ask yourself, is this true? Can you actually feel in this moment that it is fresh, fresh with possibilities, unencumbered, though informed by the past? So close your eyes and just pause. The future is not yet formed. Pause to feel that. It may feel a little shaky. It may feel a bit groundless and unknown. You may have no reference points. Just pause a minute. Try to stand between the past moment and the future moment in this unknown place. This present moment is the land that I will show you. In my Buddhist tradition, you can open your eyes. In my Buddhist tradition, the place in between is called the Bardo. The Bardo is traditionally referred to as the place between death and rebirth, but is also used to refer simply to that in-between space, when one thing is over and another has not yet begun. And a friend of mine who I was telling this to pointed out to me that, in Buddhism, we think that the Bardo between lives lasts 49 days. And we have a ceremony after death, 49 days later, called the Sukhavati. And it's saying, okay, the soul has traversed and now it's going to be reborn in the Buddhist tradition. But I was telling my friend and she said, oh, the 49 days of the Omer, 49 days, that's a Bardo. And I went, I never thought of that. But yeah. So even in our tradition, there's a Bardo built right in between the liberation from slavery and the revelation of Sinai. We're in an in-between place, between the first and the last. So Bardo is not usually a kind of experience we enter by choice. It's a rude awakening. I'd like to quote from Susan Chapman here. In Tibetan Buddhism, this term is used to describe the transition period between death and rebirth, but it's also any gap that disrupts what we think of as our normal life, when our past disappears behind us and our future expectations dissolve before our eyes. It could be a fender bender on our way to an important interview, or the gaping hole in our heart when our teenager moves away from home. It could, I'm sure you can think of things, and I'm going to invite you now to stop and close your eyes again and think of a time in your life when the ground was pulled out from under you. Could be a big thing like a death, a diagnosis, a fall, or a birth, or a fire, or a flood. It could be a relatively small thing, late to a meeting, catching COVID, or even smaller, going out of your house into the world beyond. Anytime we are in a place of don't know, which is really every minute, we don't know for sure what the next moment will reveal, including in meditation. We don't know what the next moment will reveal. So let's just close our eyes a minute and get in touch with that in-between feeling. Get in touch with the not knowing quality. And try to think of it, perhaps, and bring to mind an incident, a time, probably today, but sometime where your life was interrupted in some way. It changed. You went from what you knew to something that you didn't know. Just give yourself a minute to contemplate that. Okay. In a minute, I'll ask you to share what things that came up. But I'd like to read to you from Pema Chodron, my teacher, who talks about this in-between state all the time. She's written books about it. Comfortable with Uncertainty is one of her names of her books. The Wisdom of No Escape, another name. Welcoming the Unwelcome, that's another name. Her book names tell the whole thing. So this is what she says. Anxiety, heartbreak, and tenderness mark the in-between state. It's the kind of place we usually want to avoid. The challenge is to let it soften us rather than make us more rigid and afraid. Becoming intimate with the queasy feeling of being in the middle of nowhere only makes our hearts more tender. So I wonder if any of you would like to share any things that came up for you that have that quality of lech lecha, of God was in this place and I did not know it. Or just that quality of the queasy feeling of being in between, being tender. So I guess you just have to unmute and speak up.
Hi, it's Robin.
Hi, Robin.
Yeah, I just trying to count my Bardos and I can't. There've been quite a number and I can start counting at age 4 and just keep going. And I have always somehow had that feeling of lech lecha, which has kept me going. So I can appreciate the way you're putting these two together is fabulous. And so I appreciate that you've identified that coming together in my own life. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yes, good, great. Someone else want to share something that came up?
Well, I can share.
Good.
The day that I finished my last exam in college, my undergraduate college, it hit me like a blow that was the first time in my life that I didn't belong anywhere.
Mm.
I mean, when I graduated from college and I had no plans.
Mhm.
So I realized it was the first time it was all up to me and anything could happen. It was astounding. I felt like I was suspended. It
Yeah,
was,
the possibilities were endless and it's scary.
yeah.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's important to face that fear and to go forth to what you don't know. Yeah. Thank you, Leah. Anyone else? I mean, there's 50 people here.
Rita Loesch has her hand up.
Thanks.
Oh, please, just speak up. Rita, of course.
The most recent moment I had was at 6 o'clock tonight. Where I went from my usual state of mind, which was worrying about my procrastination, about how I'm not writing and I'm not gardening and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And I thought, well, yeah, I'll check out the event tonight, even though it doesn't interest me, except the event that starts at 10:25 interested me. I thought it's going to be all this cerebral blah blah blah. And then as soon as I entered this gathering tonight, I went what other people are saying, and I guess also the presence of all of you, which thank God brought me out of my Rita hamster wheel. It brought me into this place of serenity and excitement because I didn't know what the next moment would bring, what kind of wisdom and honesty might pop out of, I'll say, our mouths. And just this lovely combination, this lovely floating together of spirit and intelligence and questions. And yeah, thank
Good.
you for letting me be in this lovely place with you all.
Thank you, Rita.
I think I'm here till midnight now.
I have a question or thought also. I'm thinking about um, back in '91 when I was about to leave a relationship, and it had been obvious for a very long time that I needed to leave this relationship, and I couldn't get myself to do it. And finally, I took myself to Mount Tam, and and I sat on Mount Tam and I imagined what my life might be like even to the point of like, I wonder what kind of furniture I will have one day, in whatever happens next. And so I'm curious about the going forth into the unknown. Like it's like there are times that it's not completely unknown. You begin to have some vision about it, and it's your imagination about it that makes it doable. And I wonder what Abraham and Sarah imagined when they set out.
I wonder.
Joanne Witt has had her hand up.
Who's that?
Joanne?
Oh, Joanne Witt. Hi.
Hi. So I visited lots of scenarios because I had to keep checking. But what I was discovering as I visited all these different scenarios of being in between was that it's somewhat of a comfortable place. You're leaving the known and going to the unknown, but the in between is so grounding that I can see I have gotten stuck there because I don't have to deal with something new, and I'm
Oh,
leaving something I've left, and I've left it behind, what's behind me. So it was interesting to see that kept coming up no matter what major change or leap I had made in my life.
huh. That's so interesting. That's the opposite of what I was proposing. You feel comfortable there because you it's the past is behind you. You don't have to engage yet. You could just the sort of the ground of procrastination, sort of.
Maybe I'm good at it, who knows?
But but it's actually a very groundless place. And I wanted to read something that is pertinent to this. It's in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is the best known source of original teachings on the Bardo. And this is again Susan Chapman. Throughout the book, the key instruction is listen. And that's true. When you read the book, it's constantly telling you, listen, listen. Being able to authentically listen is a profound skill. It is the ability to create space, to let go with an open mind and heart. Listening is the key to liberation in the Bardo. And I thought, wow, that can apply to what we're talking about here. So, in your place of procrastination is a place of listening to see what's next, to know what's next. It's an opportunity. It's freedom. You're right. It's freedom. And although it's groundless, it has a lot of potential. So the quality of listening to what's out there and what's up is very key. How much time do I have left, Barbara? 10 minutes? 15? Because I have a little more to do to say.
I think about 20.
Oh, that's great. So for a final contemplation, I will ask you to close your eyes. And before you close your eyes, I want to explain contemplation is different than meditation. It's a time when you take some words and you roll them over in your mind over and over again until the words fall away and the meaning, you stay with the meaning, the feeling of the words stays with you. And I would like to ask you to contemplate these words. They'll sound familiar. God was in this place, or the divine was in this place. or the transcendent, the ladder to heaven, was in this place, and I did not know it. So any word that you want for God or the divine, just that which connects me to the divine, was in this place, and I did not know it. Just repeat that to yourself for a few minutes. Close your eyes and repeat that and see what emerges in your feelings. I'll just give it 2 minutes. God was in this place, and I did not know it. So I just wonder if what arose for you in that place, that contemplation. Anything?
No, I thought about a
Judith.
difficulty I have with a family member
Uh-huh.
and imagining God was in that place. You know, I didn't know it. And I sort of started seeing more positive ways to relate to that difficult situation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. It reminds me of the teaching earlier from Reb Irwin of finding those dots of goodness.
Yeah.
God was in this. That's beautiful. Yes.
Oh,
you,
hi again, Robin.
Yes.
Yeah. At 6 years old, I moved from New York City to a very rural spot in Northeast Pennsylvania. And I even remember raising my arms over my head like a big circle and going, uh, just taking in the beauty of it all. And I didn't have a name for it, nor did I for a very long time, though I had other experiences somewhat like that. But I just remember it as expansive and filling me. And it was nature bound, nature grounding. And it's one of those moments that just stays and stays.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rob. It stays with you forever, really.
Basha.
Yeah. Hi, Susan.
So when I think of Lech Lecha and going forth, I think of how meditation does that for me.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me an opportunity to take a moment and then go forth from that moment.
Right. Right. Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Shoshana, did you want to say something?
Yes, I'm just so moved by your teaching. And when the Bardo, the Omer as a Bardo is just, wow.
Cool.
So
It was today. I got that this afternoon.
really then what you said about leaving the enslaved state of mind and then, being in this Bardo before we can receive revelation. And then I feel like you, in a microcosm kind of way, the way you talk about the I did not know, the I that's doesn't know, and then the I that's open to receive the unknown. And for me, I just will say, like this past weekend, I was working on a creative project and I was just kind of despairing, that I wouldn't find my way in. And then it kind of opened to me, and it was like such a gift. And I love the song we started with tonight. The way shows itself, but the eye that doesn't trust that, and then the eye that receives that. And it's I don't know, it's just very moving. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy it meant something to you. It's wonderful.
And what came up for me was I did not know this. Well, then pay attention.
Right. That's the point. Yes. Pay attention. That's what it's pointing to. Like his ignorance, our ignorance. Every moment, there's a moment to listen and to pay attention. Susan Richter, you have your hand up?
Yes, I remember the first time I learned about that story. God was in this place, and the name Hamakom, which is one of my favorite names for God. Whenever I'm not being mindful, I come back to that place because in that moment I really began to realize for me that everything is infused with God and divinity. And so, as I say, it's when you shared about that, I just felt so very happy because that's what makes my day very, for all of the distress I've been feeling these months, to keep reminding myself that God is in this place. I feel almost protected. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, I had a few last thoughts about when I was thinking about all of this, and I invite you to disagree with me, but the difference between Judaism and Buddhism, and we'll take this up, Judith, you and I later, but because we love to have these conversations, but I think that Buddhism emphasizes the journey quality of life, that it's always a process, that it's a river, you can't step in the same river twice. And so the Lech Lecha, the journey, and the fact that we're never arriving, we're always in between past and future, is a quality of Buddhism. And I think Judaism is more like into arriving. The place, Hamakon, the place. And I just would like to invite you all to think about this in terms of our destiny and our heritage. When it says, I will make of you a great nation. Is this the great nation? What is that great nation? Have we arrived yet? Have we landed? Or are we in the process of discovering what it is to be that great nation? What does it really mean? Can we think of ourselves as on a journey through life and on a journey that there's no landing place, there's no resolution? One of the great teachings that Pema received from her first teacher when she walked into her first class was, don't think that you're ever going to get it all together. She said that was like her biggest teaching. And that kind of groundless quality of life is something that we touch on in meditation, as Susan said, and both Susans actually said. There's this groundless quality when you're meditating and you notice your thoughts. The space you're in when you notice your thoughts is groundless. It's open. It has all the possibilities. And so I just think that Buddhism is more friendly with groundlessness, and Judaism is more grounded. We want our ground. And that's an interesting dichotomy to have in my life. And of course, right now, in the struggles we're having with Israel, it's very poignant. Is this the land that I wanted to show you? Is this it? Is this the nation? Or are we just learning? Or is this a, and I think it helps me anyway to think this is a process. No, this isn't the end, and this isn't a landing place. This is a process, and we're part of that process. We have to get in touch with that in-between place where we don't know. And why do we have to? Because God is in that place, and we do not know it. Thank you. That's all. If you have anything to say, I'm well open, but I'm not sure when I'm supposed to end.
We have a little time, so maybe people want to reflect. One thing that just occurs to me that I would share is that we began by talking about the hero's journey, which I think is a there and back again journey. And interestingly, our stories are all to a new place. Abraham and Joseph and the children of Israel in the wilderness, they're all leaving behind something and going to someplace utterly new. And I'm wondering what you think about that, or if it is a journey of return, but the return is of a different dimension.
Yeah, I really think of it as going to new uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Not exactly a return, although in the Bible they keep going around and around. He goes out, he comes back. It's true, right? He goes out to find his wives, then he goes back, and they go to Egypt, then they go back. So there is a lot of round and round we go. True, both geographically and psychologically, perhaps also. Like Gesher pointed out, from Bereshit to Shema. But I do think it's the uncharted territory that appeals to me as the journey. Rita, I can't hear you. I don't know. Yeah, you're
Muted. Rita, you're muted.
Okay, I'll be real quick because I know you want to speak, Barbara.
It's okay.
I think at the very end of the Torah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have this vague memory that Abraham's burial place is mysterious. Is that right? And so there is no real end. So no wonder in the same split second we go to in the beginning. Am I off with the story there?
Oh, it's Moses's death place that's unknown. Abraham is anchored by land. He buys land for burial. So Abraham moves into a specifically becoming geographic in a way, and Moses eludes it.
Shoshana.
Yes, I would just chime in on the hero's journey because I think it goes to your teaching tonight, Basha, that the person who leaves and goes into the wilderness might be the first I, and then the experience of the wilderness transforms them, or the groundlessness or the unknown, and then the return is what they come back with from that journey and what they bring back to the community that transforms the community because they've taken that journey into the unknown for all of us, for the collective.
Beautiful. Wow. That's great.
Hi, Robin. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Robin. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had the great good fortune of attending some of Jean Houston's mystery school some time ago, and she speaks also from a Jewish platform, being about as Jewish as I am. Anyway, we just kept exploring the ongoing mysteries that schools have formed around, and I'm just thinking we are the mystery school here every single year, in fact, all the time, but particularly on this particular night. and the mysteries never end, and so there is no real landing, right?
Mm. Right, there is no real landing. That's what I think too.
So I might add in also maybe to close us out or to offer you another moment, but yeah, no real landing. It makes me think of how, this is a nice moment to also honor our recent ancestors who also did great journeys, unimaginable journeys, journeys where they knew they would never see their parents again. And they did it for us. And how, we're or in Shoshana's language, right? They did that journey and delivered the goods of it back to us forward in time. And those journeys continue in very real ways.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. Of course, being the child of refugees, my mother, both parents individually, they met in New York, but they both left everything behind. One little suitcase and everything behind to an unknown land, that's for sure. Thank you. Thank you for tying that in. So we'll just close listening. I think we can now listen to Deborah sing. And thank you, everybody, for your beautiful contributions and wisdoms. I'm so honored to be part of this. Thank you. Sherry.
And thank you, Basha, for this wonderful teaching. She says while Sherry is queuing up the music.
I hope this time.
Yeah.
Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. Lechi lach, and I shall make your name great. Lech lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi lach, to the place that I will show you. L'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, lechi lach. Lechi lach, to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach.
mysterious. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful song, and thank you for bringing it back to us for those of us who knew it back when.
Okay, great. So what's up
Um,
next, Barbara?